And the question we have in our culture today is, how are we doing in the name game? Are we calling evil good and good evil? When we declare that marriage is not a relationship sanctified by God, but something to get immediate happiness, and if you don't like it, discard the other person. When we declare a precious human being at its most vulnerable state is something that you can get rid of at a moment's notice. Oh, we're not doing very well in the name game. And just because of the name and what it allows and the lie that it perpetuates, we are destroying a nation. For at its very core, abortion is sin. And sin always begins with a lie. And it's not satisfied with just the lie, because it has another lie to cover the lie. Because its aim is ownership, and with ownership comes destruction and then death, as is true with all sin. Because the woman who is frightened and terrified and forced into an abortion by a father who does not care, or parents who are more fearful of their reputation than desirous of expressing love, or of financial worries, lays on a table, and when the moment occurs, knows that she has participated in ending a life that resided within her. There cannot be a denial. There can be rationalization. There can be running away. But the truth is on our hearts. And they know. And they know that if that life was not loved enough so that it could be ended by those who had power over it, that maybe their life does not have the value to be loved by God. Abortion, as with all sin, assaults the very truth of God's love. For that is the only way that evil wins. The only way that evil prevails is to convince us that God does not love us, that His word is not true, that He has not known our name, and does not call us forth. And as we stand here now, there are those in Kansas who are arguing that this great Constitution, dedicated to the proposition that all of us have value because there is a God who enshrined that value at the moment of creation. And that government might have the might, but it does not have the moral authority to contravene that truth. That great document now stands for the proposition that if a life is unwanted, if a life is inconvenient, if a life is not economically viable, if a life is somehow frail, that it can be extinguished. They are arguing that young children who have been raped, who are taken to abortion clinics by the rapist, cannot receive help, for telling authorities somehow invades the privacy of the child. There are three things that child rapists want access to children: secrecy, and the cowardice of adults who know and look the other way. There are little girls being led by their stepfathers to abortion clinics in this nation. And if they are asked, and generally they are not, who is the father of this child, they know the magic words. Well, it's the boyfriend. But you and I know, when an 11-year-old has been raped and her parents do not call the police, who do you think the rapist is? But this mammoth industry that claims that it represents America, that has millions of dollars of your money, is stating that the Constitution prevents them from letting authorities know that children are being exploited. In Wichita, Kansas last year, there was a young girl who at the age of 13 was led by her stepfather to an adoption clinic. The stepfather said the boyfriend got her pregnant again. I got a call from the pro-life counselor in that adoption clinic. He said, "What do? I don't believe this." I said, "Get the girl alone." They did so. She said, "Please help me. He's now raping my sister." 5 pregnancies over 6 years. 2 abortions. No one was called to help. And the rapes continued. Thanks to a pro-life counselor who recognizes his duty, that stepfather is now serving over 20 years in prison. But what has occurred in Kansas occurs across the nation. It is not new. It is not unique. As we speak, there are children who have prayed nightly for God to answer their call and remove them from a home in which they are treated as property. God is waiting on us. He is asking us to rise up, us to be intolerant of the falsehood that allows this to occur in America. For a people in this nation can change the course of this nation. And we must persist